and I would like to thank you. Last weekend, you guys were just so gracious to us, celebrating 5 years here at Seneca Community Church. And, they often say that a good pastor makes a good church, but it's also probably more true that a good church makes a good pastor. So I just want to thank you all. We love you dearly and just look forward to the future of making a difference together in new ways and in ways we've already been, and just really having an influence in the community. So I just want to thank you for that. This morning when you came in, you may have noticed that there's baby bottles out there, and when we celebrate Mother's Day, or one of the ways we celebrate Mother's Day is by highlighting the Family Hope Center. And the Family Hope Center is in Geneva, and we're going to talk with Kylie a little bit about that. She is Doreen's assistant director or assistant person. We'll figure that all out. So Kylie, if you'd come on up, we're very excited about the difference that they're making across the region. So welcome. Oh, there we go. Very good. So happy Mother's Day.
Oh, you too. Except you're another mother, so sorry.
No, well, I'm not going there. But anyway, okay, because I'll get in trouble, or more troubles. So just between us, what's it like working with Doreen? You're laughing. Oh, wait a minute, Doreen's here. So we'll save that question for another time. But seriously, we're going through this series, Born in the USA, and a part of that, the tagline comes right out of the song. It says, "Nowhere to run, ain't got nowhere to go." And right now we're talking about Daniel and talking about facing the impossible. And so the center obviously is involved with life really sometimes coming unglued. And you step in and help in the impossible. So how are some of the ways that you come alongside folks, young women, not so young women, and just families and fathers and teens? How do you come alongside them to, in a sense, step into the impossible?
That's a great question. I actually was thinking about that this week. I wanted to share a story. And sometimes when we're working at the CareNet Center, one of the things that we get stuck in our heads is, we got to focus on these pregnancy tests, the abortion vulnerable tests. Those are the big stories. And they are some big stories. But I actually wanted to share a story of something kind of amazing that seemed to be impossible. We had a client that was coming. She had come in for a couple pregnancy tests in the past, and it just seemed like a lot of our staff was having a hard time connecting with her. And she came in repeatedly, and they kept trying different staff and volunteer members, and it's just like nobody could make a connection with her until she came in for parenting classes. And I happened to get thrown in with her. And it took a little while, but I think I finally made a connection with her. And my gosh, this girl's life was totally a mess. Without going into too much detail, I just know that she kind of got involved in, a lot of stuff that made relationships really difficult for her. And she had been homeless, and she had had several abortions in her past, and she had lost custody of her son, so she was just really hopeless and struggling with some addictions as well. And when I came into her story, I just remember she would come in and literally just blab about everything that was going on in her life. And she's been coming to me every week for actually over a year now. I've established a really good friendship with her, and my gosh, her life has taken a totally different turn. I was able to lead her to Jesus, share the gospel with her, and pray that prayer with her, and walk with her since then. And her life has been shaping up. She's going to college now. She's got her own apartment.
Wow,
she has a young man who is intentionally dating her, which is a really big deal, by the way. And it's just amazing to watch that transformation. She knows what she wants for herself, and she's fighting to pursue it. So I would say that's the situation that would seem to be impossible, that we would have any impact in her life. And suddenly it was possible.
Yeah, that's fantastic, seeing these impossible situations and finding out they are possible. Now with your role there, how do you, in a sense, open people's ideas that, in a sense, the center, and really, hopefully, the life of a church is all about opening people's eyes that the impossible is possible. But what kind of things do you personally do, like that story, or the roles, or the hats you wear? What are they
Sure.
like?
Yeah. Okay. I have a lot of different roles at the center. Main thing is I'm Doreen's assistant.
So that means you do everything Doreen doesn't want you to want to do, or
Well, the way that we put it at the center, I'm her minion.
okay?
Yeah. I love telling people that because we joke about it all the time. One of my favorite things to point out, sorry, Doreen, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. This is my chance because you pick on me all the time. We'll be out in the main area and getting stuff done, and then I'll get out to go and do something. She's like, Kylie, sit. So I sit.
Wow. Russ, are you used to hearing that too? She tries, yeah. Yeah, that's what I probably would say with you, Russ. So she tries.
But
Very
in
good.
all seriousness, though, she has me do a lot of different stuff, and one of my main jobs right now is engaging in the community. So we'll do that, getting in touch with schools, getting in touch with community agencies, with churches, which is part of the reason I'm here today.
Right.
And the last thing that I do would be Courageous Beauty, which is my girls group for ages 11 to 18.
Nice. And we're going to talk about that a little
Yeah,
bit.
we'll
in a
talk
couple
more about
minutes.
that.
So, yeah, so that's fantastic. So how did you get to this place? How did you grow into this role? Did you just know you wanted to be the assistant? Did you how did that all
Funny
happen?
story. I started volunteering, if I remember correctly, I think in 2015 in that summer. I don't remember the year, but it was a while ago. And I didn't really anticipate it being a big part of my life. I just wanted to be part of the community. But then when I was going through a lot of the trainings DVDs that we had and was learning more about the mission and values of Family Hope Center and the ways that they come alongside families, it really spoke to my heart. And so then I just wanted to volunteer more there, and they gave me the opportunity to come on staff in July of 2016. Oh my gosh. Wow, we're going to hit 2 years this
Wow.
summer. Oh, wow, that's amazing. So since then, I was working there for about 13 hours a week, and this past couple months ago, just jumped up to 30 hours a week, which was a big deal. We can talk more about that in a minute, but
Nice.
it's kind of grown very, I don't know, slowly over the couple years that I've been here, and my heart for the ministry has just grown as well.
That's fantastic. So you mentioned engaging in the community, and that's really important for our church. We want to be a church that if we disappeared, the community actually notice that we don't exist anymore. And sometimes that's not the case for many churches. So we're really trying to be that way. So we really are interested in engaging the community. How are you going about engaging the community?
That's honestly a little rough because our center, I don't know if Doreen has talked about this in the past, but our center in the past has not been very engaged in the community. We've kind of been isolated off to ourselves. You guys can do what you need to do, and we'll stick to ourselves. So we've been trying to move past that, and connecting with the churches has honestly been a lot more difficult than I expected. I think Geneva especially is just, they're kind of off to themselves. They stay in their own areas. But one of the things we've been doing to reach out to them is by passing out cards with gift cards just to thank them. Nice. For the things that they are doing in this community for the families and youth, and trying to, find common ways for us to partner together for that ministry. And I have been finding that the community agencies are much more willing to take partnership with us. Like one of the things that we came across, I haven't been able to go to it as often, but it's a community agencies coming together, and they just share resources and stuff. So we're able to get out there what we do, and they're able to share how they can help us, and we've been connecting that way. And then for the schools, I've just been visiting them and making connections with school nurses. I've had some opportunities to connect with some of the principals at the school, and that's been really exciting.
Yeah, so sometimes I think there's this false barrier that the community is not receptive, and they are more receptive when you're nice. Yeah, I mean, because sometimes we as churches haven't been very nice to our communities, but when we're nice, they're much more receptive to have us come alongside and partner with those things that we all agree on, value of people and those kinds of things. So that's really great. How do you balance the tension, I'm saying tension, from being a reactive ministry or being a reactive center to being a responsive center? How do you navigate that?
That's actually a really good thought. So like reactive being, they're already in a position where they have an unexpected pregnancy,
Right,
and
right.
we're reacting to that situation.
Because sometimes as churches, that's what we think the center's just about.
Right,
And
and that is a big part of it,
Right.
but it's even, we have families that have lost custody of their children and are using our parenting classes to get that court-ordered fill to say they've got their classes, and I would say that's reactive as well. They've already lost their children, and they're trying to get them back. So proactive versus reactive, that would look more like Courageous Beauty, which is looking to get to the young girls before they make these decisions that will possibly get them into the center for our services later on, to help them make those healthy choices now. That would be the sexual risk avoidance. That would be, I don't know how the parenting classes, I would like to get the parenting classes more proactive.
Yeah, right.
But that's how the position we are in right now is still reactive.
Isn't it interesting? In all of our lives, from wherever we're from, usually there needs to be pain and a crisis and an issue for us to address it. And isn't it wonderful when the few times in our lives before it ever gets there, we get trained, we prepare, and now we don't have to have the crisis because we're in a responsive mindset. And even a couple weeks ago when we talked about training for our spiritual lives, making deposits in that account, it's really interesting that a lot of times when the bottom drops out, like then we take a second look or a more intense look at God, but man, it would have been completely different if we had been responsive. So when those situations happen, we're already trained, we're already equipped, we're already ready to deal with whatever's coming our way. And so I really appreciate that about the Courageous Beauty piece and what you're doing with young girls. And where are you meeting? Where are you doing that kind of a thing?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's actually going to be changing fairly soon here. We have been meeting at Faith Community Church in Geneva.
Okay.
It's been a very, very small group, and I've been doing a lot of work to try to connect with the schools so I can grow how many girls are coming. But we meet right now Fridays from 3:30 to 4:30 at Faith Community Church. And when June comes around, we're going to be expanding that to Fridays and Saturdays from 4 to 6. I'd love to be able to provide dinner for the girls on that day as well. And we'll be moving back to the Family Hope Center just for the sake of, it's a little nicer area of town. And being in the later hours, we just want to feel like we're a little safer, yeah.
Yeah, and also, I think we talked about this before when we met earlier this week, that you're willing to come alongside youth leaders, youth pastors, and just come alongside people just to help share some of those core values to make sure as youth ministries, as parents, we're really presenting the concepts and the values of what it means for the courageous.
Yeah, and when it comes to the youth leaders and the church, I think it's really important to mention, Courageous Beauty is for all girls,
right.
Not just the girls who are struggling. It's for the girls who are the good Christian girls in church too, because even, I would say, for one, the ones who really are dedicated and pursuing Christ in their life, it is good for them to come and be a good influence to the girls who are there. But I would say even some of the good Christian girls we know, they still need that kind of guidance too.
They're struggling in silence,
yeah,
aren't they?
in silence.
Until it
right.
is realized, you don't know that somebody's struggling in silence. And we've been a church, traditionally, not necessarily our church, but churches that haven't been necessarily safe places for any of the things that you offer at the center, and including this. So, so how do you think we, as just church people, Christ followers, trying to, influence our world? How do we, in a sense, not just invite but bring people into the influence of the center? How do we do that in a non-threatening way, but a safe way? How do we make people aware of what you guys are doing and where you can come alongside?
That's a great question. I would definitely say, give them our information, but I think it's kind of important. We kind of talked about this as well, to emphasize the difference between, just telling somebody to, this is a great place, you should go there. It's like an invitation. And the difference of being ready to bring them there. So if you know somebody in your church, or I don't know, it doesn't have to be in the church either, but that is struggling, maybe facing a pregnancy decision, or just struggling in general in life, and maybe thinking about Courageous Beauty, being able to say, hey, I'm here for you, I support you. let me go with you. Let me drive you to your appointment. And let me sit in the counseling room with you if you need that kind of support. Because it makes it less scary, if they're going there not by themselves. And, just having that kind of support in their life is so important. That's always what we're looking for when we're talking with them in the counseling room, who is supporting you.
And I would also encourage you when you're downtown Geneva to stop by. So you're familiar with the place. It's not your first time going in there. I mean, there's great coffee there. There's great, what's that barn burrito place,
Char burrito.
Yeah, I really like that place. There's some really good places. Then you can just kind of swing by and say, hey, and get an idea of the place so that if you were to bring someone, you're not going there the first time and all of a sudden it's like your new experience too. What are some of the things that are on the horizon for the center? We'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I feel like this past year especially, we've gone through a huge shift. And I think part of that is the shift in staff that happened, because like I said, I went from 13 hours a week to 30 hours a week, and that was a really big deal at our center. Doreen and I are not used to having that much time together. I'll put this on the table. I know I'm a challenge for Doreen. But hey, I know she loves me, I love her, and it's amazing what God is doing, I think, with us as a team, because I feel like she and I, and Wilma, we're just very ministry-oriented. And I feel like that's kind of the direction that the center is taking. We're seeing a lot less of our parenting classes than we did last year, which is kind of interesting. We don't really know why, but we're also seeing an increase in clients who are seeking just to be ministered to. So they're coming not even to get the family bucks that we have and to buy things in our material aid store, but they're coming for Bible studies. We have a couple girls who come more than once a week just to have a Bible study with us. And they'll sit there, they'll do the Bible study with us, and then they'll just talk and just share what they're struggling with, what's going on in their lives. And my goodness, watching God minister to these women when they're coming in is a beautiful thing. So we're watching this shift happen and say, okay, God, so now we're going from a lot of parenting classes to a lot less. And I don't know, one of the things that we've been talking about is this idea that God goes after the one, shifting from leaving the 99 to go after the one. And I feel like that is kind of where we're going. And I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I think, we're still going to be seeing a lot of pregnancy tests, but it's not limited to that. We are there to minister to them and meet them where they are.
Relationships, and
Yes.
relationships take time and energy. You're going
Yes.
to really build. It's just not a one and done kind of thing.
Exactly.
It's a process, and trying to keep those communications ongoing for a year, like you talked about that one individual.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So as a church family, how do we come alongside you? All of us have different abilities, different resources of time and finances and skills and those kinds of things. Our own Judy Williamson helps out as a nurse and does some things up there. But how can we come alongside you guys and just to be there? What are the different, on-ramps to being there?
Another great question. Yeah, I would say there's a lot of different ways, because, I know not all of us has 30 hours a week to go and work at Family Hope Center like I do. But, as a volunteer, maybe you do have some time. Or if you don't have a lot of time, maybe something like considering being on the board, because we're always looking for members on the board. For even less commitment to time, like obviously finances are helpful. You can take the baby bottles on your way out of church today, fill them up with change or cash or checks or whatever it is that God lays on your heart to put in there. But I would say too that prayer is really important. We need support. We as the staff members have stuff going on in our lives that can make it difficult for us to be fully present for our clients. And we need prayer. We need God to keep those powers that are coming against us out of the way. But our clients need prayer, and we need prayer for guidance where God is taking us, and you can support us in our walk for life. And as individuals, just being ready to love and minister to the women that are in your life.
Great. No, that's awesome. So I think there's something in there for all of us at some level. So as you're thinking about life, and if the Lord's laying on your heart, I would really encourage you to embrace the idea of what the center's doing and what they're accomplishing, and how they're really being there for people in their times of need, and also trying to make that transition where they're trying to catch, especially young girls on the front side of that, so that they're in a healthy track from the get-go, so that's awesome. Well, we just really thank you for being here, and again, if you have any other questions after church, please stop by and see Kylie, and I knew I was going to do it.
I know, it's terrible.
Kayla, Kylie.
I'll answer to all of them.
All right, thank you, Kay. All right, and see Doreen out there and anyone else. So thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, thanks.